Welcome back to the subject Object-Oriented Analysis and Design. Today's topics are Introduction to Unified Process, a visual representation of the unified process, the detailed approach for unified process, the phases of the unified process, and the conclusion of the unified process. So coming to the unified process is an software development framework used for object-oriented modeling. So as we know that there are various types of software development lifecycle models are there, but unified process is the one of the software development framework. So this is useful for object-oriented modeling. So the framework is also known as rational unified process and the open unified process. So what exactly a framework is? In computer programming, a software framework is an abstraction in which software providing generic functionality can be selectively changed by additional user written code. So whatever the user is writing the code, based on that generic functionality is going to be changed, thus provides an application specific software. So based on that, it is going to provide an application specific software for us. So that is nothing but an framework. So this unified process model is also one of the software development framework. What are the features of this process model? It defines the order of the phases. Now, what are the order of the phases? The order of the phases are performing the analysis, doing the design, developing the code, testing, and then deployment. So all these are the phases which is going to be defined by this unified process. So it is component based, means a software system is built as a set of software components. So for example, if we take an one of the Word application. So Word is one of the GUI environment. If you see the top of this, all the inbuilt tools are there. It is a combination of a menus. So each and every menu is defined for a specific tools or a components. So if we take the design will have a group of related designing components. If we take the insert option, in the insert having a related group of related components. If you take the home operation, home will have its related grouping of a related component. So this is one of the unified process model, which is a component based. Means by using this process model, software system is going to build as a set of software components. So there must be well-defined interface between the components for smooth communication. So to make use of these software, there should be an interface which should be helpful in communicating with the machine. Coming to the software development lifecycle models. So as we are talking about the unified process model, so there are various types of software development lifecycle models are there. So which are useful to structure process that is used for designing, developing, and test good quality softwares. So this SDLC is an software development lifecycle, is a methodology that defines the entire procedure for the software development step by step. So this is one of the software development lifecycle model, which consisting of the phases like the first one is a planning, defining, designing, building, testing, and deploying. So here the word planning is nothing but doing the analysis. Based on the analysis, a problem statement should be defined. Based on that, defining the problem statement, the designing is going to start. So in this stage, it depends upon the type of the problem statement. The design may be developed in terms of flowchart, in terms of ER diagrams, in terms of UMLs, that is a unified modeling language. So depend upon the type of the project or a type of the problem statement, the design is going to be developed, and based on that, building that code. So that code is going to be tested and then it is going to be deployed. So all these are the stages of an software development life cycles. So this model is to deliver high quality maintainable software. That means the user requirements. So whatever the need of the user, this life cycle model is used to deliver the high quality and to maintain the maintainable softwares. So this is an software engineering models outlines the plan of the each stage so that each stage of the software development model can perform its task efficiently to deliver the software at a low cost within the given time frame that meets user requirements. So all these are the phases. So if we talk about the unified process model, it defines the order of the phases, like which phase has to be followed first, which phase has to be followed next in the software development lifecycle model. Because in some type of projects, which is a small duration of the time, the project which should be complete or wind up within a short duration of the time, needs the testing for every evolution, like for every iteration, it needs to perform the testing. So it is not going to be done at the end of the phases. So that depends upon the type of the problem statement. These phases, the order of these phases is going to be defined by this unified process model. So coming to the other models, so there are so many types of software development lifecycle models are there. Models and the frames that guides the developer to process for a software application from initial to the development. So all these are helpful to guiding the developers from initial to the ending or to deployment stage. So various SDLC models are there in the software engineering, which can have a, which is having a approach to the phases of the development. So like one will be an waterfall model, iterative model, V model, spiral model, incremental model, DevOps SDLC models, rapid application development, agile SDLC models. So all these are the various types of models. During the software development phases, various software development lifecycle models are specified and designed. So again, it depends upon the type of the problem statement. These phases may be varied that depends upon each and every evolutionary and enhancement of the softwares. So to guarantee success at each stage of the software development process, each process model to a set of phases specific to its kind. So exactly depends upon the type of the software development, they need to change the phases. So these are the visual representation of the unified process. So unified process is the one of the framework which will follows these order of the phases. The first one is a communication. Communication can be done between the user and the developer. So generally this framework is used for a small duration of the project, like the lifespan or the time is unlimited, which may be a three weeks of the project or maybe a 2 weeks of the project. So limited time will be there. So each and every time the developer needs to communicate with the end user or to the stakeholder based on the inputs they have to plan. So this inception is the stage where it depends upon the input, they start developing the planning. So based on the plan, they are going to elaboration and performing the modeling. So here, every time they can do the modifications for the modeling, then they start for construction. Construction is going to be transition to the development. And once the development is completed, final release to the end user or to the stakeholder. So this is a continued process. This is not going to be ended because every time the user will come back for a new modifications or they come for any bugs or whatever the changes needed. According to that, again, the developer needs to do the modifications and the changes for the problem statement or to the project. So let us have a look at the approaches in details. So what are the different types of approaches are there whenever the developer used to collect the input from the user? So at the time of, so as we said, the first one is a communication. At the time of communication, they are going to be collect the information in terms of the first one is a case-driven approach. So that follows a set of actions performed by one or more entities. So use cases refers to the process of the team that is going to be performing the development work from the functional requirement. The functional requirements are made from the list of requirements that were specified by the client. So every time, whatever the specifications are given from the client, that is going to be collected in terms of the use case. So what are the use cases? If we take a simple example of a web application, if the client is coming for developing any web application, so these are the cases such as adding a codes, detail and delete of a codes, pay fees. So it may be any kind of all these are the use cases that should include in that web application. So case-driven approach is nothing but in terms of the use cases, the developer used to collect the information. Whereas the second technique is an architecture-centric approach. So this approach is defining the form of the system and how it should be structured to provide a specific functionality, whereas the use case defines the functionality. So exactly this will defines the functionality. The overall architecture will be defining the functionality. So this is a one more approach in collecting the input from the user. So the next one is a interactive and incremental approach. So interactive and incremental approach means that the product will be developed in multiple phases. During this phase, the developer evaluate the and test it. So these can done changes in various ways, and each and every team will be performing, developing that, and that can be integrated. So interactive and incremental will be a continued process. This is one more technique like which is used in the unified process. Every time whenever the user come back for the modification, based on the modifications, the changes can be done. So interactive and incremental, based on the interaction, taking the input and then doing the incremental to the process or to the project. So these are the phases of the unified process. The phases are the one is an inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. So at the time of inception, defining the objective of the project. So this is nothing but collecting the information based on that, planning the project at the time of elaboration, and initial operations are going to be included in the construction at the time of construction, and then the final release to the product. There is a transition is done, but is released to the end user. So all these are the things that will be collected at the time of inception. So at the time of inception, what are the key features are there? How does this benefit to the customer? Which methodology will be followed? What are the risks involved in executing the project, scheduling the cost estimation? Everything can be done at the time of inception. At the time of elaboration, developer build the system given the requirements, cost and time constraints and all the risk involved in that. So it should include all these things like developing with the majority of the functional requirements, finalizing the methodology to be used to deal with the significant risk involved in that. Coming to the next stage, construction. This phase is very much used in development, integration, and testing takes places at the time of construction. We build the complete architecture in this phase and hand the final document hand over to the client. So transition is nothing but in this phase involves the deployment, multiple interactions, and beta release. So this is going to be developed. The team will be then fixed with those errors. So based on the transition, again, it will start from the inception, doing the modification and then incremental. So coming to the conclusion of this method allows us to deal with the changing requirements throughout the development period, and the unified process has various applications, which also makes it complex in nature. Therefore, it's most suitable for small projects and should be implemented by a team of professionals. Thank you.